Thanks for stopping by the Junction, where we're trying to make connections between Ardmorites. This week, we're going to talk a little bit of arts. Joining us here in the Junction this week, we've got Paige Miller, Monica Stolfa, and Ashley Shepard to talk a little bit about Shakespeare in the Park, which is coming up here at the end of May. So Paige, Monica, and Ashley, thanks for joining us in the Junction this week.
You're welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So I'm just going to kind of start off. Monica, you were directing this year's production of Twelfth Night, Shakespeare play. I'll go with you first and just kind of ask, how did Shakespeare in the Park kind of come to be?
Well, it was a long time ago. You're in high school and we got to do Julius Caesar. Oh my gosh, that's so hard. Well, I was saying that to my friends, but deep down I kind of dug it. I love Shakespeare. When I became an adult and had my own house, I was getting ready for work. I was watching A&E when they had the live performances, and they put on Midsummer's Night Dream. It was a Shakespeare in the Park, I think in New York. And I looked at that, my jaw dropped. I thought, that's how Shakespeare should be put on. Fun. A lot of running around, a lot of displaying of your actions and everything, and then you can follow it better. And then just a few years ago, I bumped into a friend, and she mentioned something that, hey, so-and-so wants to do Shakespeare in the Park. I said, who? He said, Paige. I said, Paige? I know Paige. I'll go talk to Paige. And so I talked to Paige, and she said, oh, yeah, let's get Ashley. So the three of us met, and we hammered out a plan on how to do this. And now the rest is history.
Okay. Well, then, so all three of you have been doing this for 3 years, it sounds like now. Paige, tell me a little bit about how things have changed between that first year, last year, and then this year. What have been some of the kind of things that you guys have learned as this production's been going on?
Yeah, that's a great question. We have learned and grown a lot. So the first year we were trying to do a proof of concept. Can we do this? We have Central Park, we have a stage, we have actors. We feel like we can do this. We've planned like we can do this. But we need to pick a show that the audience will be, aware of, something to get people out to establish Shakespeare in the Park. So our first year, we did Taming of the Shrew, and it was a big success, probably even more than we thought. We were just trying to show that we could put on a play, but we had lots of people show up. We had picnics. We had people tell us what a fun evening it was, and it's free entertainment. We're out in the community for some people who may not normally get to see play, or at least Shakespeare for sure. And so the second year, the goal was always Monica wanted to do A Midsummer Night's Dream, and we knew we had to practice before we could get to that big of a show with, effects and costumes and that level. So then last year we did A Midsummer Night's Dream. We were able to build on the success of the first year. Now we'd established that, yes, people will come. People will come to the park and watch us do a play. And so this third year, we kind of went and did something, I wouldn't say a little different, but it is different than the two previous performances. And Twelfth Night is one of Shakespeare's mistaken identity plays. So a lot of the humor revolves around the mistaken identity of two main characters. And because of that, we were able to get new people who had not ever been in a play with us before, some people who had seen us in the past 2 years of Shakespeare. So we've really grown each year, and we're trying to do something a little bit different every year, so it's not stale, it's not the same show all the time. And we're hoping it's going to be as or even more successful than last year.
Just before we started recording this, we were talking about I was talking about how impressed I was last year with the costumes. The costumes last year, in my opinion, were just absolutely awesome. But we were talking before we recorded, though, about just kind of the community that's involved with this. Ashley, could you talk about some of the members of this troupe that are kind of putting this together, and what are some of the roles that people are having to take on other than just being the actors?
Right. Well, to put on a show like this, obviously does take some support from others besides just the three of us. We have logistics to figure out, backstage, props, costuming. The great thing about a community outreach show like this is that, we can costume ourselves. We can be creative. It's Shakespeare in the Park. We're not limited to any little four-wall rooms. We can really think outside the box, and we can kind of do it our way. So, like, the vibe for this show might not be classic to what Twelfth Night is, but, when we rely on our actors themselves to really get creative and think outside the box, I think that really lends to a very easygoing vibe. Now, as far as the actors in the show, it's a phenomenal cast. This cast is fantastic. We actually have a family that has started participating in Ardmore Little Theater and other productions with some dinner theaters this year because of what they've seen previously as audience members at Shakespeare in the Park. So our Duke Orsino is the patriarch of that family, Jason Powell. And we're so happy to have the entire Powell family. They've really been an asset to all of our groups, all of our productions. They've really added the flair that we needed, that we didn't really know we needed, but they've been a great fit. And honestly, that's really our goal, just to share the love of something pure and share that with the community and see if other people want to join in with us and play pretend.
You had mentioned. Oh well.
Can I add? We also had Penelope, who was with us last year as Titania in A Midsummer Night's Dream, and Monica has directed her in shows before. And this year we got her spouse Trey, who came and showed up to auditions, has become part of the family, the Shakespeare troupe. And we wouldn't have had him if we hadn't had Penelope, and we wouldn't have had Penelope if Monica hadn't done auditions. So it's just a circular thing. And now we have Trey, who's a lead. He's Malvolio, hilarious and just really an excellent actor. And I can't wait to see him in full costume. But again, that family and that outreach perspective of gaining people into our troupe.
Yeah, Trey is phenomenal. A lot of people are phenomenal in this.
And one of our stars, too, Lacey, the first night I heard her audition, I had never met her before. I heard her audition and introduced myself. Hi, I'm Ashley. Who are you and can you stay? Just blown away. So we've been very lucky with the talent that we've found.
Paige, you had briefly kind of mentioned a little bit about the story of Twelfth Night, about it's kind of a tale of mistaken identity. Could anybody, without giving spoilers, though, explain a little bit more about the story and how this, because obviously this was written hundreds of years ago, but talk a little bit about how the story still kind of translates to the 21st century.
Well, like Paige said, the main theme is mistaken identity, getting our wires crossed, falling in love, but not with the right person because you think there's somebody else and everything. And that kind of happens still on today when you talk about online dating. But in this case with Shakespeare, I've read 3 of his plays. When there's a ship, there's a shipwreck. And so the beginning of the play, if you read the script, it mentions a shipwreck. But I've decided we need to show the shipwreck in order and see what's happening. And it's about these siblings, brother and sister, and they're twins. And they're on this ship, and the ship's wrecks, and it splits, and they're separated. And each thinks the other has drowned. And we follow the sister, Viola. And she lands on the shore with the captain who helped her, and she says, "Where am I?" And I said, "You're in Illyria." And she said, "What's in Illyria?" "Oh, there's this Duke. He's a pretty nice guy, but he's having a little problem. He's trying to woo this countess, and she's not having him because she lost her brother." And Viola says, "I think I'll work for her because I understand her." And the captain says, "Oh, no, she's not having anybody." So Viola comes up with the great idea of, why don't I change my appearance, dress as a man, and work for the Duke to help him woo this countess? And the captain says, "What could go wrong?" So she does, and she's working for the Duke, and she kind of digs him, but she likes him so much that she'll try her best to woo this countess. Well, she's dressed up as a guy, And she goes to the Countess to try and bend favor for the Duke. Says, this guy's crazy for you. He loves you. And they get into this argument. And soon the Countess is falling in love with her, thinking she's a guy. And she, our heroine, is in love with the Duke, and the Duke is in love with the Countess. So you got this weird circle going on.
And that's the first scene. That's like the first act. That's like just, there's no spoilers there. That's the setup, and hilarity ensues.
Plus, the Countess has two other wooers. One is a knight, hilariously played by Heather Kasinger. Who's a knight in parentheses, and in quotation marks, I mean. And then there's another guy who's this pompous Puritan who looks down on everybody, named Malvolio. And nobody likes him, so the knight's friends want to play a trick on him, and that's where some of the insanity comes in. So you get a couple of stories going on, but in the end, they all clash together.
So this is definitely not a romantic drama. There's lots of comedy involved with this story.
Right.
Well, we're talking with Paige Miller, Monica Stolfa, and Ashley Shepard about Shakespeare in the Park, which is coming up on May 29th, 30th, and 31st. It's going to be Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I do want to ask, too, we've got about 3 minutes left. For anybody that's never been to Central Park for Shakespeare in the Park, what should they expect? What kind of stuff should they bring? And how long should they expect to be out there?
The show runs for approximately 2 hours. Be weather aware, obviously, but bring a blanket, bring a lawn chair, bring a picnic, bring what you want to relax. Bring your best friend, bring your kids. It's definitely, a kid-friendly show, and there's a park right there, so everybody can enjoy their time. But most importantly, just bring, a great attitude and a desire to see some quality entertainment.
Also, it's free, so we do take...
My price point I like.
Yeah, well, but we do take tips, We'll have a tip jar for you if you want to donate, because this does cost us money. We still have to spend the money, and if in order for us to continue, if you drop a few bucks in our tip jar, we'd appreciate it. Also, if you do bring a blanket, you might reconsider, because the grass, this crazy weather we're having, you might need to bring a tarp.
And as far as the weather goes, we may have some alternates. Last year we were rained out at Central Park for one night, and so please follow us on Facebook. We are Shakespeare in the Park, Ardmore, Oklahoma. And if there's any developments of having to either postpone or change locations, we will be posting everything on our Facebook page. It is a free show. Donations are accepted, but please just come enjoy a night of Shakespeare, a night of theater, a night of community. And we have a blast putting on this show, so we just know that you'll have a blast watching us, and it's just supposed to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, anything else we might want to add before we wrap up today?
Can't think of anything. Can you?
I know I went last year. Like I said, I was probably most impressed. We had a blast also. You're right. There's a park right there so the kids can go play if they're getting bored. Mom and dad and grandma and grandpa can still sit and watch the play fine. And it was a good way to spend an evening. So that's going to be coming up. Shakespeare in the Park. Coming up on May 29th, 30th, and 31st. What time does that show start? 7 p.m.? All right. And joining us this week was Paige Miller, Monica Stolfa, and Ashley Shepard. Ladies, thank you so much for coming in this week.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
All right.